I want to thank, once again, as others have done, the organizers for the opportunity to participate in what is an amazing festival. I want to thank in particular the audience that's assembled here, because you must be very, very interested in what I'm about to say. So, without further ado, let me try to justify that interest. When you look up at the sky, you see the stars. The stars seem not to change at all. They seem to be ever fixed. But that's an illusion. As Sami alluded to before, indirectly, went into bubbles, etc. This is just the early phases. And I'll call your attention to that clock. That clock is moving in milliseconds. And so what's happening is that a star the size of the Earth, by thermonuclear processes, disassembles within seconds to inaugurate the supernova that lasts for months, that you can see for 10,000 years, that affects its environment for millions of years and the next generations. And the magnetic field that is giving off radio waves, can give off X-rays, optical. This is a picture of the crab in the central region, and you see a pulsation associated with this. This is not in real time. This is pulsating at 30 times a second. It's associated with the rotation period of this 1.5 or so solar mass object. Now, we let some of these calculations, even in axial symmetry, in 2 dimensions, so we're not doing the full 2D, 3D problem, run for a long time. And you see a shock wave at the periphery. It's still a radius that's only a few hundred kilometers. It's trying to explode, but it's being held back by all the material that's raining in. There's a tamp, a fist holding it in. In this particular simulation, though, we let it go long enough that the inner oscillations were sufficient to generate sound waves aplenty. And those sound waves steepened into shock waves, and it ignited the supernova. When it ignited the supernova, it was off-center, and it left behind
planets and galaxies, George Smoot's universe, just incredibly large. I'm going to talk about things that are infinitesimally small, so we'll change our view a little bit here. Our journey starts back in the 40s with the invention of the first transistor, really just a switch, an on-off switch, which was invented at Bell Labs in New Jersey. In 1954, we moved to put that onto silicon. And in 1957, a stunning achievement by the Soviet Union by launching Sputnik, with the chief engineer Korolev, who overcame incredible personal and technical challenges. The size of a notebook, you carry it around with you routinely. It runs on a battery. That's most of the space in here is a battery, not computing power. Run all day on a battery, probably even tomorrow. And it has more computing power than that crazy supercomputer. Costs you $500.
A wonderful experience hearing all of these views about where we're going. So I'm going to try to give you, I suppose, what you might say crudely is a thinking person's version of what you heard from George Smoot and some of the others about the universe. How did we get to where we are, or where are we going to, etc. One of the in 1957, 1950s, and so Fowler in particular brought nuclear physics also into astronomy to make, with his astronaut master colleagues to make this conclusion. And one of the interesting sociological aspects of physics and astrophysics is that of these 4, only one of them got the Nobel Prize for this work. The supernovae were too faint. And they were too faint by a significant amount, by as much as 25% of the light. That's a quarter of magnitude. That is something that you can measure very precisely with big telescopes, for the distant ones. Okay, and so this excess of faintness, okay, can most simply be understood if the universe is accelerating, if they're further away than they otherwise would be in a uniformly expanding universe. So this is the best evidence that we have for the presence of something new, acceleration. Some of these mysteries that we understand, the mysteries of cosmology. Thank you.
We have time just for 2 questions.
Talking about space mentality, which is a combination of the scientific approach and metaphysical approach, and we have a lot of work on this team. Also, a lot of people talk about the changing of the human body, and they consider that these changes should be under the control. Это Земля, там пляски пламенных дождей, крушение тяжких гор, там ураганов и морей невиданный раздор, снится лавы жаркий след, пустыни в пыльной мгле, а вот и жизнь, зеленый цвет разлился по земле, вздыхают сонные леса, гниение и поры, я слышу предков голоса, костры, 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 сметает время города, царей и острова, но раскалится иногда шальная голова, подбросит к небу звонкий крик, измыслит пару строк и станет пылью. Но смотри, не гаснет огонек, зернистой пленкой светлячки из прошлого текут, природы чудные станки, ковер сознания ткут, звучит космический закон в движении огня, он смутно слышен, связь времен проходит сквозь меня. Во мне живут курчавый грек, арабский книгачей, Чижевский, Рерих, Лукбек, Коперник, Галилей. Во мне их мысли и дела, пульсирующий гам, и бесконечность замерла, внимая их шагам. В чаду всемирных катастроф, при треске старых стен идет брожение умов, их битвы и обмен. Чуть Байконура гром затих, дрожит флоридский мыс, то современников моих бушующая мысль. И микрокосм вселенной встал, ангстрем в ней свой парсек. Велик и сколь безмерно мал во знании человек. Вопросов вечных круговерь несу, как предки я. Тьма, свет, рождение, жизнь и смерть, загадки бытия. Пускай полеты белых птиц на солнечных ветрах душе не знающей границ укажет верный взмах. Взлечу до самых облаков, земля, внизу земля. Как долго ждал я этот миг, земля, внизу земля. И космонавта светлый лик в кабине корабля. Я землю мыслью обниму, люблю ее до слез, и увлеку, и подниму до самых дальних звезд. И с ней отправится в полет божественный народ, и свет сознания прольет на звезд круговорот.
Thank you very much.